Hey guys, my name is Julian and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be reviewing the PRS SE NF53 guitar. Alright guys, so usually I do an unboxing, right? And I love doing that, and then I'll have the guitar for like a month or two, and then I'll do a review on the guitar because I do want to spend a little bit of time, playing it. But in this case, guys, I did get it about a month ago, a little bit more. But the unboxing, I got it shipped because I was traveling, and that was my excuse to get a guitar, but also because it's a lot easier to just ship it to, the company shipped it to where I was going to. And then on the way back, I bought it with me. But, it went well. Now, as far as the unpacking and the unboxing, as fun as it is, the guitar came well. There's like no flaws. The packing was fine. Came with a black gate bag. I kind of wish it was kind of like the gray or the, what's the other one? Or the brown one. I think those look nicer than, than the one this one came in, but they're exactly all the same. All the gate bags, my bad, are the same. All right, so, for today, guys, what I'll do is that I'm gonna, talk a little bit about the guitar, talk a little bit about what it feels like. We're going to check out some tones with pedals that I think most people have on their boards, right? And then after that, again, I'll get like my final thoughts, right? But, that's going to be kind of our reviews. Alright, now let's get down to the guitar, guys. So over here, let's actually start with the neck. Alright, which is for me the most important thing on a guitar, by the way. The neck for me is everything. If a neck is bad, doesn't matter how everything else, doesn't even matter if it sounds really good. If I don't get along with the neck, yeah, I just hate it. And the thing with PRS is that they get their necks so freaking good, guys. And they're all different from all the ones that I have, but they all feel good. I don't know how they do it, like they do a lot of research and stuff, but it's great. So this neck, guys, the shape is kind of like a C. It's not really that much of a D, but it's kind of like a small C. So it gives it kind of like this vintagey, almost thing if you have tried like a Music Man guitar, that there is not as small, but it has like kind of like a smaller feel than the normal kind of like bigger. For example, I had the Ibanez 50, and that was huge. This is, a lot thinner, not super thin. It's not like a shreddy neck, by the way, not like the Schecter Nick Johnston. That has like a very shreddy neck, which is great. I love it. But this one is like kind of like a middle ground. So it does have like, it still feels like a Tele, by the way, on the neck. But what I can say, guys, about the PRS necks is that they are wonderful to play. And this one, guys, and I love when a guitar doesn't have a finish on its neck, guys. It is so smooth. I mean, I love just the feel of, your hand kind of like, running through the wood. It just feels good. Not in that sense that you're talking about, but, it just feels really, really good. So the neck, guys, just feels nice. I really love the feel of this neck. And, I do have like the DGT has a, a neck that is painted, of course, or finished, let's say. And it feels really good too, but this one, guy, just feels so freaking smooth. So that's already a big plus for me. Now, I am not a big fan of like, bright necks, right? Most of my guitars, actually this is the only one that I have, and another Harley Benton that have maple. I don't have that many guitars with maple necks just because I prefer the look of the darker ones, and ebony for me is my favorite kind of finish. But this one, guys, feels really, really good. And I actually think, with the body of the guitar, the color, right? I do think it like, matches really well, like the dark and the bright, right? I didn't want to, if it's like rosewood and it's going to look a little bit too dark. So the contrast is fine, guys. But the neck, the frets are fine. Didn't find any high frets or anything like that. The intonation was great. The setup was actually really good. Like I have not done a setup to this guitar because it doesn't need one, which is a good thing, right? Now if I have to do one, it's not the end of the world. It takes like 10 minutes to do a setup, but that's already good. So the neck, guys, wonderful. And for me, that already is a huge thing on a guitar. So the neck feels really nice, just so you can kind of see it. As you can see, it has a little bit of wear already on it. I do sweat a lot when I play, so you're gonna see some playing marks. And that means that I like the guitar, guys. Now let's get to our headstock. Now some people hate it, some love it. I like the, you know, the PRS headstock. I think it looks different than everybody else. You know, it's their brand, you know, and I just like it. So the thing I wanted to talk about is, you know, the nut came perfect, all right? I don't know what material it is. Didn't look, you can check online, but it came cut really well. There's no buzz anywhere, so very important again. And then one thing that I wanted to talk about, guys, is the tuners. Now these tuners, I was kind of expecting to get the ones very similar to the PRS Silver Sky, SE Silver Sky, which to me, like, they work, but they look kind of toyish. I don't like the look of it. But this one, guys, they feel and look much better than that one. So that's actually a bit of an upgrade, being in the same, you know, range, SE range, right? So, you know, they look really nice. They match well. You know, they're a little bit smaller than the Silver Sky ones, and they just feel a little bit better. And, you know, they do have like kind of like that vintage, you know, look to them, right? But they work perfect, guys. This guitar has no problems with tunings at all, which you expect from a Tele, right? But not all Teles are that way. But, you know, the head just looks fun, and yeah, it just looks to me like quality, like, you know, it just looks, you know, nice. Right now, as far as the paint, guys, actually before that, because I know that's important, it's important to me, that's why I returned my Vintera, right, which was not a bad guitar. It sounded great, by the way. Over here, guys, I hate it when, you know, you get like a huge gap between the neck and the body. Something I never had problems with PRS, and even with Harley Benton, by the way. So by the way, I'm not bashing on anyone, and just give my experiences, but I don't hate any of the companies. I would play any guitar from any company just fine, guys. But I do like to get my money's worth, you know, kind of like, you know, feel that, you know, what I'm paying for is quality. And over here, guys, the neck joint is perfect, all right? It is perfection, all right? Everything here, there's like no gaps. It just fits right in, guys. You know, here's the back in case you want to look at it. This is like the dog hair finish, which I actually like it, you know, because I do already have a black, you know, my Schecter Telecaster is all black. And I love dark guitars. I was going to get the white one, but then I saw this one. I'm like, hey, that's black, but it has kind of like that finish. And I think it looks really cool. All right, I think it looks different. All right, very cool. Right now, as far as the body is not that heavy, I have not weighted the guitar, guys, but it's not that heavy. It's as heavy as pretty much any of my other guitars. Not heavier, not lighter. Right, so if you're expecting a super light guitar, then, you know, you might probably look at the more expensive ones. I don't know if they are, but this one feels fine, guys. There's nothing wrong with the weight. Now the switch works fine, and I love the PRS switch because they always feel sturdy. Even thought the switch on my DGT and my Pulse guitar, which are the Les Paul star looking guitars, both of those switches start working. So that's one thing off for PRS, at least SE guitars. I did switch them. It's not a huge deal, but, you know, you wouldn't expect that to happen, right? Right, but the switch on this one feels fine. I used it a lot, you know, doesn't get stuck, doesn't feel weird. I like the knobs, you know, like they have the lampshade knobs, right, which I think are really easy to get on. Now, as far as the volume, I didn't notice, and we'll see this kind of when I play and give my tone review. But, you know, the knobs do feel great, but, you know, when I start rolling out the volume, you know, from about 10 to like 8, you know, it rolls down the volume a lot, and then after that it goes almost to 0, by the way. So it's not as gradual as I would think. I think I've seen some videos where people do it almost all the way to 0. Yeah, with this guitar, like around 7, right, on the knob, it will already like cut all the volume down. Or not the volume, but it'll be like super, super low in volume, right? So, you know, the good thing is that I don't really use it much. I do sometimes take just a little bit of the edge off the volume in case I want to just lower a little bit of like a drive or distortion, right? But, you know, that's one thing that happened. I'm just trying to say what I got. Now here, guys, we come to the special part of this guitar, which is the pickups, guys. These are narrow fields, something dish. I don't even remember what it is. But, you know, one thing they have to think of when you buy this guitar is that that's what the pickups they have, and you're not gonna find anything that's gonna fit in there because that's a very specific size that is not normal to pickups. So you do have to kind of like it. And yeah, and then you're kind of stuck with the pickups. Good thing up here is that they usually have amazing pickups. Like my DG-TSE pickups are my favorite humbucker pickups for a less polished style guitar, right? They're amazing. I could play that guitar all day long. It just feels so freaking good. I'm a huge fan of that guitar. So over here, guys, the pickups. Now we'll check them out on the tones, but I think they sound great. I think they're freaking great. They, you know, as much as I love, like, you know, like the vintage stuff and the traditional stuff, I also like it when companies experiment, guys. You know, who says that we already have the best thing? Who says that, you know, we're stuck with everything that was invented, like, you know, almost like, you know, 70, 80 years ago? So I like that they actually innovate and they try things, and these speakers for me are winners. You know, they're just really good. And, you know, on the tone check, I'll talk a little bit about that when I'm checking the tones, but they're really good. And then the last thing, guys, is the bridge. All right, the bridge, again, to me, it looks actually a lot better than a tele bridge. That looks very kind of like customish to me. You know, feels great. It's like small and packed. Intonation is really good. And it just looks quality, guys. I mean, if I was going to compare like a tele bridge to this, I would say this looks like more quality in every way. And just feels great and sturdy. So again, great, you know, great bridge play, or, you know, bridge. Really, really cool stuff. All right, that's kind of it about the guitar, guys. If you have any more questions or maybe things I didn't cover, but that would be the most of them. And again, guys, there's no flaws on this guitar. You couldn't find any paint flaws, any construction flaws. Again, I'm not like a fan of bright necks, but this one is so good that I don't care, and looks good with the body. So, you know, that is as much as, you know, talking about the guitar. But now let's go ahead and listen to it. All right, guys, so now let's check out some tones. Here you're going to be able to see on my camera view, right, or my B cam, right, the pedals that I'm going to be using. But just so you know, I am not doing any EQ to any of these tones. I'm going straight to, you know, to my Orange TH30, but I'm using today the Imperial, the Tone King Imperial, plug it into my amp. So that's making my Orange TH30 sound like a deluxe reverse kind of thing, which is really cool. So I will do a video on that probably later on. Maybe my next video will be that, because I already did the Royalist and it's amazing. Really, really good pedals. Freaking, I have now like a deluxe reverb now. So, you know, we'll do that one today, even though the Orange is still really good too. Now I'm going into my Orange PPC 112 behind me with an SM57. That's it, right? Keeping it simple. And, you know, let's check out some tones. So let's begin with the clean tone, guys. So over here I have just, you know, the sound of the Tone King, which is again a deluxe reverb. I do have a little bit of reverb. Actually a little bit of, let me turn on my reverb actually. A little bit of reverb, not too much, and a little bit of delay, because that's usually how I, you know, tend to have my tones. So I just want to play the way that I play, right? But just so you can see the clean sound here is on the neck with no pedals on. That was the neck, guys, and freaking amazing tone. Yeah, it does have to do a lot with the amp, but the guitar, guys, sounds so freaking good. It's nice and fat, right? But it still has like all that juiciness, high end, right, that you want. So actually, even some tele necks are gonna be darker. I like that this one is kind of brightish. Right here goes the middle. Still it has that, like, you know, again, telish, you know, kind of like bell, kind of like middle position. And then here we have our bridge. Alright, so let's begin by turning on the one that I usually have on unless I'm doing a lot of gain, the Wampler Ego Compressor, right? So check it out. Without. Width. So, you know, I don't have it full on, it has a blend knob. And this is like the perfect spot because it kind of like, it levels out the highs and the lows, right? So I don't have too much of one or the other one. Sounds very, you know, professional. All right, let's do our middle. Now for the bridge, I really like what the compression does to the bridge. Right, so again guys, it has, you know, it sounds like a Tele, right? So when people say, you know, that, you know, a PRS or this PRS, for example, just loses the whole Tele vibe, I don't think it's true because again, if I put all my other Teles and maybe one day we can do a shootout, sounds like a Tele to me, right? All right, so now let's begin adding some dry. Now on the Tone King Imperial, guys, I'm not gonna change anything, I'm just using it as a clean platform, right? So let's begin with the tube screamer. That's kind of one that I always tend to have on my board. So check it out, here we got the clean sound on the neck. Tube screamer. There we go. Middle. Rich. I don't know what to say, guys. It just sounds really good. I could play this guitar all day, you know, and just enjoy the tones. All right, now let's do the Wampler Tumnus. That's like a clone kind of pedal, right? So a little bit different, but many people kind of use this pedal, right? So just so you can get, you know, what it sounds like with that one. So starting on the neck, as always. Also a great pedal. All right, let's do our middle. And let's do our bridge. Alright guys, now let's try out now this also a new pedal. I got a few new stuff for the channel and for me of course. So here is the Keeley NK3 Muse driver, I think as they call it. Such a good pedal. If you like Boss BD2, it's like in that family, but freaking good. So check it out. Clean. Alright, MK3. Let's do our middle position. And let's do our bridge. Now guys, this is a good pedal, right, to try out with you know, with the volume knob, right, because this pedal is really good for that, right? So here is like full on, right? Right, now we take a little bit off, so now that's like around 8.5, right, full. Right, take a little bit off, take a bit more off. So that's already, my volume is already quite down, which, you know, I don't, obviously as you roll it down, it is going to go down, but I wish that it had a little bit of a bigger range. That is the one thing that I wish it had. But here I have like a great clean tone. back to full. Alright guys, now I guess, you know, we did all kinds of dry, guys, so let's do something heavyish, right? Because one of the things that I think teles can usually do, at least like the traditional teles, you know, they do like all of the mid-game pop, a little bit even heavyish kind of stuff, maybe even like classic rock, but they cannot really get heavy, right? Because usually you do need a bit of low end, and a lot of times, you know, with those very vintagey pickups, the distortion turns into like this fuzz, and it just like, you know, pretty much, yeah, just like tops out, and then, you know, instead of getting like a nice kind of like tight thing, just get like a very fuzzy kind of thing, right? This guitar, while he still has like, you know, a tele sound, tele vibe, and tele bite, it can handle it. So check it out. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go for my favorite kind of heavish pedal, which is the Joyo. I have a video just on that pedal in case you want to see it, because it is freaking awesome and it's like 48 bucks, right? But here it is, so check it out. And I go on the neck, Joyo on the neck. Right, so that's on the neck, and in a second I'll take it away. I'm just kind of doing like a lead tone. I'm not gonna go for the middle because I just don't use the middle for this kind of tone, but on the bridge, check it out. And again, I'll take my delay and reverb off in a little bit just so we can see how I can do riffs, right? Heavy riffs. So guys, you know, it's crazy, guys, but you know, it kind of handles everything you throw at it, guys, everything. Now what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna take off my compression, because when I'm using a lot of high gain, I will take off my compression. I'm gonna take off here my delay and the reverb. So check it out, we have like the plain, oh wait, need volume for that, right? Very dry, right? Now if I put on my Joyo, check it out. So guys, you know, it's not like choking out the notes, right? It's not fuzzy now. Now let's add the tube scream. Let's actually do this. Tube scream, I'm gonna do tone all the way up, level all the way down, drive all the way down. Let's see. Without. So you could even do some high gain, you know, obviously probably need a noise gate, but you know what, let's drop tune it. Alright, that's a lot of hum. Alright guys, so we're back. Alright, we heard some tones. As always, let me know what you guys thought. Alright, let me know if you have one, if you hated it, if you loved it, you know, the other options. So again, I'm turning into a huge tele lover. I mean, Telecasters are just, they're ugly, but at least to me, sorry. But they just sound good, guys. They just cut through. They have this bite on the bridge that nothing else has. And this one specifically, you know, just sounds so freaking good, guys. So, you know, for me, it's the perfect mix of like, you know, fat single coils. That's what it sounds like to me. It doesn't sound like, you know, humbuckers that want to sound like single coils. To me, it sounds like single coils with a little bit of humbucker flavor, which is funny because for most of my, and let me know if this happens to you, by the way. I love playing single coils at home, but I don't like playing them on stage. I always feel like I need like a little bit more body. I feel like I need a little bit more just maybe power, I guess, or just a little bit more. But you know, at home I love single coils. They sound so freaking good, and for recording they're great too. But this one again has the mix of both. So I feel that I get like the mix of like, you know, all of the highs and the clearness that a single coil has, because they're, you know, those are usually very clear pickups. But then I also get that like body of a humbucker, and they, you know, I have no idea how they did. Obviously, again, they do a lot of research. And, you know, they got the mix right on this guitar, guys. This guitar do not need to change the pickup. So on my Stractor Telecaster, what I did is that for the bridge, I put a Seymour Duncan that fattens out the sound. Because, again, I'm looking for that kind of like a little bit of a fatter sound on a Tele, but still sounding like a Tele, of course. And then on the bridge, I installed the Chopper T, and that was great because that pickup does something similar to this one. It fattens out the sound, but it still retains the high, you know, the high end and the clarity, which for me is crucial, right, for a Telecaster. That punch, right, is great. So, you know, this guitar has all of those sounds, and it has that fat kind of Tele sound that I kind of like. So this one works really well for me at home and on stage. Now, I have not gigged with him, right, but I already know it's gonna sound good because again, I just have experience with so many guitar and stuff that you can kind of tell what's gonna work and what's not. All right, so these pickups, guys, are really cool. All right, you know, yeah, just good. And I don't know what else to say about them, but they're just great pickups. They sound really good and they retain the character. A lot of people think that, you know, when you get a Telecaster or a Telecaster-ish kind of instrument like that, you know, it's gonna like lose the whole feel of a Telecaster, but this one does not, guys. Actually, it gives me a little bit of what I'm always looking for a Tele. I know some people love like a super thin, ice-peaky sound, but not me. I play a lot of everything, from, you know, heavy rock to like very clean stuff, so I do need something that can cover everything, and a lot of times those pickups kind of, for me, always leave me like wanting a little bit more. They're super like, you know, vintagey, you know, very ice-peaky like pickups. So these are great, guys. So, you know, that's as far as the pickups, guys. Again, the bridge sounds great. Yeah, so tone-wise, guys, it's crazy. Now, one little thing that I wanted to talk about kind of before we finish, but just so you know, my thoughts are that this guitar is really good. I will buy this guitar. And here's kind of what I'm trying to get to. I'll buy it again. That's what I'm trying to say. I didn't finish my thought. So pretty much, guys, I am kind of turning a little bit into a PRS fan. I play my first PRS, or I bought my first PRS. I play a bunch of the, you know, back before the SE line was invented. And I was loved them, but they were just too expensive for me. And I just, you know, they were like, you know, high-end. And they were lovely guitars, but I could just, for some reason, and even when I got the chance, for some reason I didn't. And I guess, you know, who knows. But the thing with PRS SE, guys, is that I hear so many people bashing on PRS. Saying things like it's too perfect, it has no mojo. And guys, that is the silliest, stupidest, most dumbass thing I probably ever heard. Because, you know, we can have a preference for a guitar kind, right? But the one that brings the mojo, guys, is the player, right? If you give somebody that's been playing a month this guitar, of course it's not going to sound good. Give this same guitar to, I don't know, Paul Gilbert or Andy Timmons or, you know, John Petrucci, and those guys will rip in that guitar and make it sound amazing. So the mojo is not on the guitar. Now, I do know, and it has happened to me, and I had, there are guitars that are special, but to me, that doesn't have anything to do with a brand. It's just like maybe the wood for some reason, you know, how dry or, you know, how humid it was. I don't know. It's just like a special thing on a guitar. But for me, again, that's for any brand, it can happen. But what I'm trying to say about PRS guitars, guys, is that they are well constructed, and they're the, you know, and you have seen my channel that I, you know, I get a lot of Harley Bentons because I think they're great value. You know, I have, you know, Strandbergs. I have in the past, as I said before, Gibson, Les Pauls. I had, you know, a Music Man, John Petrucci, that I played for a long time. My main guitar was an American Strat for years. So, you know, I've been through a few guitars, guys, but, you know, if I was to get a guitar off a shelf without, you know, and I had to play a gig, right? Let's say my guitar broke, I had to get a guitar. I would always go for a PRS SE because I know that it is just going to be set up great. I know it's going to feel great, and I know it's going to sound great. So, you know, as much as people bash on PRS for like no mojo or whatever that is, they're great guitar, guys. They're actually, for the price, they're probably like the most reliable one they can get. That, again, they'll probably have duds, but most of them are gonna be really well made, really well constructed, with a great neck that punches way above this price, right? This feels like a way more expensive neck because I play more expensive guitars, and a lot of the feel is on the neck. This one could happily be, you know, twice with this neck, you know, as expensive, and the sound. So, you know, as much as people bash on PRS, I think they're great guitars, and they're great player guitars. So what do I mean by play guitars? Yeah, we all play guitars, but, you know, if you're a person that gigs, you know how important it is to have a guitar that just works. You know, that everything just works fine. And with all my PRS guitars, aside from the switch, but everything else just, they work. You know, and by work, I mean that they feel good to play. They respond. They are good quality instruments, guys. So, you know, just a little bit on, you know, on PRS. If you're maybe thinking, you know, should I get a PRS? I think that for the money, and I have done, like, for example, some of my Harley Bentons have been really good. Maybe on some of them I've been lucky, I don't know, but some are really good. But then I would say PRS is definitely above them. In the price range, I do think that they are kind of like quality-wise above. And they also offer unique things. And one thing that I love about PRS guitars is that usually they're all very good sounding, very clear. Great for, again, for gigging because they stand out well, or they like fit well in the mix. So yeah, that's just kind of the review of the guitar, guys. So, you know, if you have any questions, do let me know. But this freaking thing is a keeper. When I gig with it, I'll do a review and I'll say, you know, how the gig went, because I do think that when you gig an instrument, a pedal, or an amp, it tells you a lot of things, right? There's things that you just cannot do at a studio or at home that when you play on the gig, you do notice. But so far, I'm loving this thing. It's freaking good, all right? So a good guitar. Again, I know I sound like lower, or maybe I sound like I'm trying to promote this. I'm not. I'm just saying my honest opinion that it is a really good guitar. So if you're looking for a Tele, right, and you're not scared to maybe, you know, not go for something traditional, want something that sounds really good, still has the Tele vibe, you know, just beefier, this guitar is great, and I do love the way it looks. Maybe even more than like the traditional Tele, by the way. I think it's really kind of like, you know, elegant-ish, but the way it's still kind of rebel kind of looking guitar. All right, bye. That was it for today, guys. See you next time.